Welcome to the Tech Mobility Podcast.
I'm Ken Chester. On the docket, my review of the 2025 Genesis GV80 Coupe. No rules, no route, all passion, and the liability of climate change. To join the conversation, be it to ask a question, share an opinion, or even suggest a topic for future discussion, call or text the Tech Mobility Hotline. That number, 872-222-9793. Or you can email the show directly, talk@techmobility.show. Also, be sure to subscribe, like, and follow us on social media, our YouTube channel. For those of you that subscribe to Substack, you can find me there too, at Ken, the letter C, IOWA. So that's Ken C, Iowa. I am there as a proud member of the Iowa Writers Collaborative. And you definitely want to check that out because there's a lot of esteemed writers from around the country that are a part of it. Award winners, a number of them. Definitely awesome reading, no matter what your interest. From the Tech Mobility News Desk, I want to get a little technical here. In everything we've talked about EVs, one of the scarecrows, maybe was true in early days, is less true now. Oh, EVs catch fire. Oh my God, what are you going to do? EVs catch fire. They're unsafe. They catch fire. Internal combustion engines catch fire too, people, and burn cars. But to your point, a division, a subsidiary of Hyundai called Hyundai Mobis has developed an EV battery with built-in fire suppression. The company says the technology prevents thermal runaway battery fires rather than simply delaying them. And Hyundai Mobis is the parts manufacturing arm of Hyundai Motor, and they've developed this technology that can extinguish an electric vehicle battery cell fire and prevent thermal runaway. The company announced that last month. Let me explain why that's major. Right now, as you well know, most EV battery configurations are configured of a slurry of lithium metal. It's not solid state. It's actually a slurry. Over time, over the cycles of charging, discharging, recharging, that the battery actually grows or accumulates in certain spots within the battery. Problem is, when it does that, it lends itself in some of those cells to be at risk of a thermal runaway by shorting out the battery cell. What makes an EV battery fire so difficult is they are hard to extinguish. The conventional ways of extinguishing a fire aren't as effective in an EV battery fire. They're very stubborn to extinguish from the outside. So Hyundai Mobis, said the system works by spraying a fire suppressant to extinguish a fire within 5 minutes of ignition before it can move to an adjacent cell and spark thermal runaway. Thermal runaway being it gets to a temperature where it just feeds on itself and continues on and becomes, at that point, almost impossible to put out. Because the average EV battery is actually a number of separate cells, you have something called a battery management system. That battery management system is designed to manage the health and situation of each of the cells, what condition it's in, what level of charge or discharge it's in, and it manages all these. What it did not have was an ability to respond to a cell that was at risk. And Hyundai's developed a way to do that. Hyundai said the new technology is the first to prevent thermal runaway, not just delay it, with the use of heat-resistant materials. Sensors monitor battery temperature and voltage in real time, and software commands the where and when the fire extinguisher should be sprayed. Thermal runaway is one of the primary risks of lithium-ion batteries used in EVs and can lead to deadly fires and explosions. So as they're looking at such things these days, as the technology evolves, as range increases, faster charging increases, automakers and parts manufacturers are addressing the safety risks of storing large amount of energy. Now, the other thing going on that will mitigate this, and Mercedes-Benz is leading that, and they're not the only ones, Toyota's doing it too, is what they call solid-state lithium batteries. They eliminate the slurry, which eliminates the risk of the shorting it out in the cells and lowers the fire risk significantly. Countries around the world have mandated safety measures to prevent thermal runaway. China was one of the first back in 2021 that EVs contain early battery failure detection systems. Here in the United States, the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration published a final rule effective this past March requiring car manufacturers to document steps they have taken to test and implement EV safety features, including thermal runaway warning systems. Please understand, Hyundai did not develop a warning system. They developed a proactive system to stop the fire in its tracks in the battery before it spreads to other cells, before it gets to critical mass to become a thermal runaway, before anybody else theoretically has to get involved. The vehicle and the battery management systems already handled the problem. That is the magic in this. But the bigger question that I have, typical lithium-ion as we know it, EV batteries and battery cells, are on the way out anyway. The automakers are looking at different chemistries, which comprise of less lithium. Some battery chemistries have no lithium. Companies like Mercedes-Benz and Toyota are developing solid-state lithium without the slurry, which means thermal runaway, tire, and fire, all of that goes away because the risk is eliminated and how the battery chemistry is put together and what kind of form it's in. It's in a dry, solid state form as opposed to a liquid form. That is a bigger difference than you may realize. That difference alone makes the difference in a lithium-ion EV battery. Toyota is expecting to have theirs on the road in the next few years, even as they expand the mileage between charging. They're expecting by the end of 2026 a 600-mile range for their solid-state batteries with 1,000 miles by the end of the decade. And this is Toyota saying this. So for Hyundai to do that, the question is, I think this will become more of a thing as they take solid-state upmarket, and probably some of the less expensive EVs may still use liquid lithium metal in their battery configurations, and this becomes more of a thing. But I think in due time, maybe 15 years, they won't need it because the batteries will be dramatically different. So for that note, I wanted to share that with you first. So here's a question. Is Cadillac ready to break through with younger, affluent buyers? There used to be a time in America where the Cadillac brand sat at the epitome, at the pinnacle of aspiration, that you lived your whole life, the pinnacle of arrival, the pinnacle of making it, the pinnacle of success was a Cadillac in your driveway. And for most of Cadillac's history, that was true. Right up until about 30, almost 40 years ago, when a certain name plate started turning things upside down and inside out. You may have heard of it, Lexus. Mercedes and BMW sharpened their message and got better. And Cadillac started to have to fight their way back. I mean, they had brand recognition with older drivers, but their numbers were dying out. And as a result, in 2015, their average age of their customer was 58. And today, because of their progress, is closer to 54, 56. Now, that doesn't sound like a big deal, but it is. And if you're looking at a specific Cadillac, the Cadillac IQ, which is their brand new, full-size, luxurious EV SUV, the average age for that vehicle is 48. Boy, do I have questions. And at 48 years old, they still have a lot of buying years left. A Cadillac can figure out how to keep them. Because this is they're probably 2 to 3 cars away from their last car. Genesis looks to Europe for inspiration for its first ever GV80 Coupe. You are listening to the Tech Mobility Show.
Are you tired of juggling multiple apps and platforms for meetings, webinars, and staying connected? Look no further than AONmeetings.com, the all-in-one browser-based platform that does it all. With AON Meetings, you can effortlessly communicate with clients, host virtual meetings and webinars, and stay in touch with family and friends, all in one place and for one price. Here's the best part. You can enjoy a 30-day free trial. It's time to simplify your life and boost your productivity. AONmeetings.com, where innovation meets connection. Get started today and revolutionize the way you communicate.
Social media is the main place to be these days, and we are no exception. I'm Ken Chester, the Tech Mobility Show. If you enjoy my program, then you will also enjoy my weekly Facebook videos. From my latest vehicle reviews to timely commentary of a variety of mobility and technology-related topics, these short features are designed to inform and delight you. Be sure to watch, like, and follow us on Facebook. You can find us by typing the Tech Mobility Show in the search bar. Be sure to subscribe to our Facebook page. Social media is the place to be these days, and we're no exception. I'm Ken Chester of the Tech Mobility Show. If you enjoy my program, then you will also enjoy my weekly Instagram videos. From the latest vehicle reviews to timely commentary on a variety of mobility and technology-related topics, these short features are designed to inform and delight you. Be sure to watch, like, and follow us on Instagram. You can find us by typing the Tech Mobility Show in the search bar. For those of you that listen to podcasts, we have just the one for you. Hi, I'm Ken Chester. Tech Mobility Topics is a podcast where I upload topic-specific videos each week. Shorter than the full show, these bite-sized programs are just the thing, particularly if you're interested in a particular topic covered on the weekly radio show. From Apple Podcast to iHeartRadio and many podcast platforms in between, we got you covered. Just enter Tech Mobility Topics in the search bar wherever you listen to podcasts.
The new 375 horsepower Hyundai Genesis has a more effective braking performance than the BMW 550i, so you can avoid the obstacles you expect. It also has an extraordinary system of safety features, so you can deal with the ones you don't. Find out more at HyundaiGenesis.com.
Commercial was from 2009. And in case you didn't know, let me bring you up to speed. Genesis, before it became a standalone luxury brand, was actually a Hyundai upscale sedan. Probably the only other automaker that would show you one of their cars being wrecked in a commercial would be Subaru. In its TV commercial, it showed the fancy car avoiding an obstacle because of its good brakes and sensors. But they catch you completely off guard when it gets rear-ended, and hard too. And that's the whole point, that no matter what happens, you are safe in this car for the stuff you see, and more importantly, the stuff you didn't see. And I thought that was awful cool. But I also wanted to make a point that the Genesis brand grew out of a luxury upscale model in the Hyundai line, and they broke it out 10 years ago. And that's important to know. It all started at the 2017 New York International Auto Show. I was there. Genesis introduced a concept for its first SUV, and it literally broke the show. Everybody wanted to get a first look at this amazing and impressive concept. It was unlike anything the automotive press had seen up to that time. The concept was powered by an electric drivetrain and a hydrogen fuel cell. It was an impressive first attempt from Genesis, kind of a peek at what was to follow in later years, and I'm just talking about their SUVs. Their cars are amazing, but I'm just calling it the SUVs. The GV70, the GV70 Electrified, my personal favorite, and the GV60 EV, an amazing ride. And all of those reimagine luxury. They don't copy anybody. The all-new Genesis GV80 production models went on sale in November 2020 in the United States as 2021 models. The upmarket Korean nameplate unveiled the GV80 Coupe in September of 2023. Based on a refreshed GV80 SUV for that same year, unique styling cues included a coupe-inspired roofline, a redesigned front bumper and grille, flat bottom steering wheel, and carbon fiber interior trims. The GV80 Coupe combines the practicality of an SUV, inheriting the design and performance of the base model with a dynamism of a coupe, with a dynamic, how shall I say it? With a dynamic experience of a coupe. I'll say it like that. With the introduction of the GV80 Coupe, Genesis now enters what I consider the rarefied air that is shared by such remarkable machines as the BMW X6 Coupe and both the Mercedes GLC and GLE coupes, which are SUV with a coupe silhouette. So definitely following in some very rarefied air with some very well-regarded vehicles. Available in two trim levels, base power for the GV80 Coupe is provided by a 3.5-liter gasoline twin-turbo six-cylinder engine that produces 375 horsepower and 391 foot-pounds of torque. The upmarket model adds a 48-volt electric supercharger that delivers 409 horsepower and 405 foot-pounds of torque. Energy is communicated to all four wheels via an 8-speed shift-by-wire automatic transmission with steering wheel-mounted paddle shifters. Drivers also have the convenience of on-demand drive mode select, comfort, smart, eco, sport, and custom. Hill descent control and a center locking differential facilitates the ability to modify vehicle performance to road conditions and or driver preference. EPA fuel economy numbers are 16 city, 22 highway for the base powertrain, and 18 city, 22 highway for the electric supercharged model. Cargo capacity is 61.1 cubic feet. Towing capacity is 6,000 pounds. Here's what I liked about the coupe. The GV80 Coupe is inspired performance luxury. While it seems that Genesis has looked to Germany for inspiration for it, it's sportier than the stock GV80 SUV and certainly no less elegant. And I've always been a fan of the GV80. The Coupe has become one more model to love, being able to hold its own in the city or at the country club. Large but not heavy, cumbersome, awkward, large but not heavy, cumbersome, or awkward when underway, the GV80 Coupe offers drivers a wonderfully elevated view of the road and outside surroundings. With opulent seating for 4 adults, yeah, you could fit 5 in a pinch if you had to. Build quality is what I've come to expect from Genesis. Solid, as if it was carved from one piece of metal. Very Teutonic, if you ask me. Underway, the GV80 Coupe is smooth like glass, with the kind of driver responsiveness that will put a smile on your face and a speeding ticket on your record. At speed, performance, handling, and control are effortless, inspiring driver confidence. Inside the passenger cabin, displays, control, and some switchgear are generally easy to read and use. Front seat passengers enjoy an added bonus. The center armrest is heated when the heated seats are activated. Let me tell you, I loved that. Head-up display, fog lights, and a panoramic sunroof, all standard. Add to that the automaker's iconic Smart Pack, and I'm sorry, I had to go into the Boston accent. I just love that commercial. Remote engine start, and it's easy to see how quickly you can be spoiled by this vehicle. For rear seat passengers, there are dual USB ports, an electrical plug, and climate controls. Outboard heated and cooled seats are a plus. The split fold-down rear seat folds flat, yay, with the cargo floor, and cargo area space is good. In the midst of all this magical goodness, yeah, I got beef. Here's what I didn't like about the coupe. 1, there's no spare tire, and no indication from what I could find out that the 22-inch Michelin Primacy Tour tires are run flats, self-sealing, or puncture resistant. That's a problem. Ironically enough, while the GV80 Coupe bristles with technology, and I can't even believe this, it lacks retained accessory power. Are you kidding me? Really? Are you kidding me? The placement of the menu dial for the infotainment system in the center console can be easily confused for the gear selection dial located in front of it. If you're going by feel, you need to be real careful. Now, here's one thing. I found that the radio displays for the infotainment system to be a bit fussy. especially when it comes to replaying a song. Oh, I had a fit. A final note about tires and rims. Remember, I said they were 22-inch. Those large tire and rim sets are expensive to replace should they be damaged. Bottom line, I love the Genesis GV80 Coupe. With the lack of a spare gives me pause and the radio controls are a bit fussy, the vehicle is perfect in every other way. If you aspire to true luxury, then you must, I said you must, add this vehicle to your short list. You won't regret it. The base manufacturer's suggested retail price for the 2025 Genesis GV80 Coupe SUV starts from $47,950. The E-Supercharger model starts from $85,750. Destination charges add $1,350. I love this vehicle. New route, no rules, all passion. It's the Speed Project, and we talk about it next. This is the Tech Mobility Show. Do you listen to podcasts? Seems that most people do. Hi, I'm Ken Chester, host of the Tech Mobility Show. If you've missed any of our weekly episodes on the radio, our podcast is a great way to listen. You can find the Tech Mobility Podcast just about anywhere you can enjoy podcasts. Be sure to follow us. From Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, and many platforms in between, we are there. Just enter the Tech Mobility Podcast in the search bar wherever you listen to podcasts. Social media. It's the place to be, and we're no exception. Hi, I'm Ken Chester, host of the Tech Mobility Show. Several times a week, I post to TikTok several of the topics that I cover on my weekly radio show. It's another way to keep up on mobility, technology, news, and information. I've built quite a library of short videos for your viewing pleasure, so be sure to watch, like, and subscribe. That's the Tech Mobility Show on TikTok. Check it out. It's unsanctioned, dangerous, and not exactly legal. It's called the Speed Project, and guess what? It has nothing to do with wheeled vehicles. No cars, trucks, SUVs, off-road, and no, nothing. This is a unique running event that takes participants to the brink and beyond. So the big question, why do it? This is topic B. I'm eclectic enough that every now and then I find something that's just far enough off the beaten path where it's worth sharing it with you. And it's been a while since we've been in the weeds. We're going to go in the weeds a little bit. And I stumbled across this, and I got way more pages than we're going to have time to talk about. This event is actually nicknamed Running Man or Burning Man for Runners. It is an unsanctioned race from Los Angeles to Las Vegas, 340 miles. It's not sanctioned. It's not legal. It has no support. It's not promoted. The only way you get to run it is if you are invited to run. It's 30 hours straight up in relay format. People who want to push themselves are looking for that next thrill. And remember, I said running, not driving. Running. Streets, paths, having to deal with traffic and truckers and law enforcement. Because, again, it's not legal, it's not sanctioned. It is not something that is planned in the typical way that you would think of an Ironman race or a typical 5K. No. They say that the Speed Project, for runners who land a coveted invite, it's everything. They just had it back in March this year. And let me take this a little further. In addition to no rules, there's no spectators and no prize money. There's not even a website or an entry form. There's nothing. The only way in was through the founder, the fellow who founded this, his WhatsApp. And he invited runners by word of mouth, screening them through an interview form that centered on one question. What motivates you to participate in this race? It is very much the opposite of any kind of sanctioned racing that you may be familiar with. So you would think, okay, unsanctioned, 340 miles, 30 hours plus being up in a relay format with no support whatsoever. Obviously, he could only attract a handful of folk. Runners from more than 30 countries arrived this year, last week of March, to participate. It included elite marathoners, popular influencers, and social activists, and their motivations were all different. But it came down to this for most of them. Many of the athletes wanted to test themselves with unbridled freedom and raw adventure that most competitive distant running events could not offer. This gives folks an opportunity to rebel against the 9-to-5 grind of life for a few days by pushing their minds and bodies to the limit. In the desert. Okay, this would be bad enough in decent climbs. In the desert, 340 miles from Los Angeles to Las Vegas in the desert. No prize money, no bragging rights, no spectators, nobody to cheer you on. You, the path, the methodology to get there, any kind of way you can get there. But you got to run it. But then again, I'm the kind of guy who asks hard questions of people, of anybody that's running 800 meters or more. I've seen it. They get to the end, they make it 800, 1600 plus. They do it, they accomplish it, they get to the end of the line, and they throw up. Why do you do it? Why? I still don't get it. The runners would face rugged terrain and unforgiving temperatures. Imagine the desert, you're looking at extreme heat and cold at night. They would have to dodge aggressive truck drivers and outrun wild dogs. And remember, I said about the police, they could be detained by the police. The race was unsanctioned. It had no, zero, zip, zilch permits. But here's what they get. If they made it to the end, they would celebrate in a casino alongside Las Vegas tourists, unaware of what the exhausted runners had just accomplished. This has been going on for 10 years. And needless to say, the fella emanated from Germany, didn't speak much English when he got here, but loved to run. And he ran around Los Angeles to learn the city. And eventually, he wanted to go on his own adventures, so he convinced 5 of his friends to run the more than 41 hours from the Santa Monica Pier to the welcome, fabulous Las Vegas sign. 41 hours. 41. That is 7 hours short of 2 days. 2 full days. Let that sink in for a minute. No sleep in there. 2 full days being up and running. Punishing your body for that long. The next year, bear in mind this started 10 years ago, they invited a few more teams to join, and before long, the annual gathering had turned into a pilgrimage for many runners who knew the founder. So, what happens? Well, like anything. For 2025, the runners came from New Zealand and New York and Seoul, and they had 83 relay teams. And they all had different ideas of the race they wanted to run. Some had trained for months. Others were sponsored by major brands, and we're going to talk about that in a minute, that aim to capture content or test new products. And some, hey, I'm here for the ride. I'm going to go on my own pace and do my own thing. One guy, Sam Robbins, a runner from Washington, whose team was invited to run this year, said there's a lure to it because a lot of people don't know what Speed Project is. It's a different kind of race, and it builds on who you are because a lot of people don't know who they are on 30 hours with no sleep. Let me tell you something. I'm one who does, unfortunately, know exactly where I'm at, 30 hours with no sleep. Been there, done that, started doing it right now. My schedule's a little crazy. So think about this for a minute. This is not a mountain. This is not some exotic climb or exotic adventure. It's a bunch of people invited on something that's not promoted, no TV, no coverage, no nothing, no prize money, nothing. just the privilege of going through it, of getting invited to punish yourself for over 30 hours in a relay in the desert, day and night, to see just how far you can push yourself. People go for different kinds of adventures and different kind of challenges. And I understand, I get it. For runners, it's a different kind of high. But remember, 340 miles, 30 hours plus, no prize money, no rules, no sanctions. You on your own in and out of those towns to get there. Would you do it? Is it worth it for you to learn something about yourself? Would you go that far? Or is that something that no way, no how? No thank you. That would kind of be me. I know how to push. This ain't it. Hey, can you be sued for not taking action on climate change? It depends. We are the Tech Mobility Show. To learn more about the Tech Mobility Show, start by visiting our website. Hi, I'm Ken Chester, host of the Tech Mobility Show. The website is a treasure trove of information about me and the show, as well as where to find it on the radio across the country. Keep up with the happenings at the Tech Mobility Show by visiting techmobility.show. That's techmobility.show. You can also drop us a line at talk@techmobility.show. Did you know that Tech Mobility has a YouTube channel? Hi, I'm Ken Chester, host of the Tech Mobility Show. Each week, I upload a few short videos of some of the hot topics that I cover during my weekly radio program. I've designed these videos to be informative and entertaining. It's another way to keep up on current mobility and technology news and information. Be sure to watch, like, and subscribe to my channel. That's the Tech Mobility Show on YouTube. Check it out.
Are you tired of juggling multiple apps and platforms for meetings, webinars, and staying connected? Look no further than aonmeetings.com, the all-in-one browser-based platform that does it all. With AON Meetings, you can effortlessly communicate with clients, host virtual meetings and webinars, and stay in touch with family and friends, all in one place and for one price. Here's the best part. You can enjoy a 30-day free trial. It's time to simplify your life and boost your productivity. aonmeetings.com, where innovation meets connection. Get started today and revolutionize the way you communicate.
Social media is the place to be these days, and we're no exception. I'm Ken Chester of the Tech Mobility Show. If you enjoy my program, then you will also enjoy my weekly Instagram videos. From the latest vehicle reviews to timely commentary on a variety of mobility and technology-related topics, these short features are designed to inform and delight you. Be sure to watch, like, and follow us on Instagram. You can find us by typing the Tech Mobility Show in the search bar. Can you be sued for not taking strong enough action to tackle climate change? Can you be sued for taking too much action to change climate change? And if you can, who decides what that is? And believe it or not, no, I'm not talking about California. But it's a valid question to ponder. This is Topic C. Here is the world we're in, and this is a little different spin. For those of you that say I talk too much about climate change, let me feed this to you for your consideration. In Europe, it is possible for a major corporation to be sued for not doing enough to combat climate change in their corporate operations. In the United States of America, it is possible to be sued for doing too much to battle climate change in your corporate operations. If you are a global company like many large companies are, what do? If you don't do enough, you can be sued in Europe. If you do too much, you can be sued in America. What do? You got to do business. But this is the world we're in now. We are in this world. I don't know what a business would do. As obviously, they have to take some kind of stand, and at the end of the day, whether they get sued for doing it or not, it has to make financial sense. because the average corporation has many different stakeholders. You have management, you have local government, the country government, state government, depending on the state you operate in, or the provinces you operate in, your employees, your shareholders, the communities that you operate in are all stakeholders in whatever it is you do. Now, to be fair, the United States business community and pollution have had an evolutionary relationship over these last 150 years. Back in the day, wherever they wanted to dump it, wherever they wanted to put it, no big deal, no big whoop, do it, move on. And that was from processing companies to mining companies, didn't matter. We don't do that anymore, for the most part. In Europe, they took another tack. They said, look here, we have an organization called the Science-Based Targets Initiative, which is considered the world's most influential corporate climate targets group. They're the ones that do the review in Europe and determine whether or not large organizations are doing enough. And what they're holding as the standard is doing or adapting policies and procedures within your line staff and operations to meet the Paris Accord of reducing temperatures or keeping temperatures to 1.5 degrees Celsius in order to battle climate change, or what we used to call global warming. Even banks are subject, and in fact tells the story of a financial organization getting sued in Europe, even though the target organization said, we're going to certify you, you're doing enough. Another organization said, no, you're not. We're suing you. This same company does business in the United States, and U.S. companies have been taken to court by shareholders saying, you're putting too much effort into this thing and messing with my money. In fact, the Attorney General of the state of Texas was taking companies to court to show cause of why you are doing this at the risk of fossil fuels. Now, understand, Texas is a major oil-producing state. But the irony about Texas is they're also one of the top 3 producers of wind and solar energy in the United States. How do you square that? The state of Texas, led by the Attorney General, says, we're going to divest of any funds that invest in companies that are turning their back on fossil fuels. Well, in the case of Texas, on the one hand, that's kind of like looking out for their interests. I mean, if you are a crude oil state, that is a major part of your economy, then aren't you going to want to do everything you can to protect that part of the infrastructure? The problem is, even while it's being proven that it's not the best interest of the world, but it's short-sighted because for short term, it may be the best interest of your state. You might remember news pieces in the last 5 years, particularly Shell Oil, Amoco, Exxon, where they've been challenged, at least in the United States, for not doing enough to battle climate change. And in fact, hiding, otherwise burying reports that showed the impact of climate change for real. They knew what it was doing and chose to do nothing, or chose to keep their lobbyists pedal to the metal. In the end, it always gets down to a matter of money. If you're a shareholder and you are an investor in an oil company, and that oil company is doing things not to pump oil and maximize profit, but to do things that will improve climate change, which actually may cost them money, diminishing profits, diminishing their investment in their core business, then as a shareholder, you might have some beef because your money's not working the way you intended, and you're going to court. Europe doesn't quite see it that way. They say that being a good global citizen is way more important than any profit you could make in the short term, doing what you're doing. That it's actually better all the way around if you care. And back in the day, despite their woefully horrible environmental record. A lot of companies used to care about the communities they were in to some degree. But here we are. You know, you can, if you go here and you do it, you get sued. You go over there, you don't do it, you get sued. And I'm not talking a nuisance suit. I'm talking a lot of money. And Europe has always kind of been, on at least these topics, a little bit more forward thinking. We've got a lot of special interest groups that are at odds with each other in the United States. You've got folks that, at least in Iowa, you've got ethanol. You've got crude oil in the South. You've got wind energy and solar energy up here too. What do you do if you're a company? What do you embrace? Where do you go? Our energy company is mostly, but not 100%, mostly renewable energy generation. They do have one remaining coal plant. But what do you do? What statements do you make, and how do you explain to your investors and all your constituents and stakeholders that this is the right way? And do they agree? Or do you end up spending time in court fighting lawsuits on either side? This is where the rubber meets the road for climate change if you're a corporation in the world today, the year 2025. Depends where you do business and how you do it. Sometimes it's just best to keep your head down and your mouth shut and do what you're going to do. But at the end of the day, it's going to make economic sense. For those of you that listen to podcasts, we have just the one for you. Hi, I'm Ken Chester. Tech Mobility Topics is a podcast where I upload topic-specific videos each week. Shorter than the full show, these bite-sized programs are just the thing, particularly if you're interested in a particular topic covered on the weekly radio show. From Apple Podcast, iHeartRadio, and many podcast platforms in between, we got you covered. Just enter Tech Mobility Topics in the search bar wherever you listen to podcasts. Social media. It's the place to be, and we're no exception. Hi, I'm Ken Chester, host of the Tech Mobility Show. Several times a week, I post to TikTok several of the topics that I cover on my weekly radio show. It's another way to keep up on mobility, technology, news, and information. I've built quite a library of short videos for your viewing pleasure, so be sure to watch, like, and subscribe. That's the Tech Mobility Show on TikTok. Check it out. To learn more about the Tech Mobility Show, start by visiting our website. Hi, I'm Ken Chester, host of the Tech Mobility Show. The website is a treasure trove of information about me and the show, as well as where to find it on the radio across the country. Keep up with the happenings at the Tech Mobility Show by visiting techmobility.show. That's techmobility.show. You can also drop us a line at talk@techmobility.show. Do you listen to podcasts? Seems that most people do. Hi, I'm Ken Chester, host of the Tech Mobility Show. If you missed any of our weekly episodes on the radio, our podcast is a great way to listen. You can find the Tech Mobility Podcast just about anywhere you can enjoy podcasts. Be sure to follow us. From Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, and many platforms in between, we are there. Just enter the Tech Mobility Podcast in the search bar wherever you listen to podcasts.